Welcome to Five Lemons Laughing, everyone. I'm Melissa. And if your brain has been running a marathon without your permission, you're not alone. We've all had those nights when your mind just won't shut off. And when you replay conversations on a loop or imagine 14 different versions of what might go wrong or what's going to happen tomorrow, it's called the mental hamster wheel. And we've all been on it. But here's the good news. You can get off of it because you don't have to believe everything you think. I brought this subject to the group because I've been so inspired by this little small book. I think you could literally read it in an hour or two. It's called Don't Believe Everything You Think, Why Your Thinking is the Beginning and End of Suffering by Joseph Nguyen. And he explains what really causes suffering in our life isn't life itself, and it isn't usually like our one thought that we have. It's the thinking that follows those things. He says a thought is neutral; it just appears, and then it can disappear if we don't think about it. So he uses this kind of example in the book. I wanted to say it so that we all get on the same page. It's like this: the thought is, it's raining. And that's just what it is. It's reality. It's raining outside. But the moment the ego jumps in and it starts to judge or criticize or spin or strategize, like, great, my day's ruined. Why does this always happen to me? Suddenly we are taken out of reality and out of the present, and we're lost in the story we're building in our mind, the thoughts, the spinning around in our head. And that's where we start emotionally feeling off from our thoughts, unregulated. And that's when suffering begins. So it's not from life itself, but from believing the stories our mind tells us about the situation. And that's the part, thankfully, we can change. So if you're ready for a little mental freedom, you're in the right place. But first, I wanted to see if anyone has a question so far.
Mm-mm.
All right.
Beautifully explained and very relatable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Just last night, I woke up in bed and I had all these thoughts going through my head. I could not get back to sleep. It was, so I tried a few things and I did finally go back to sleep. But yeah, the thoughts, they just kept coming and coming and coming. And it's been a while since I've had that. So that was interesting that we'd be doing this on the podcast today.
Yeah. Can you give us a thought, Penny? Like, what would be one thought that came up that you could see now? Oh, that was a neutral thought. But then I went off on thinking all this other stuff. And usually, because we are who we are from an evolutionary process, we are mentally prepared for the negative. So that's just a natural process. So it's not anything to beat ourselves up about, but it's really good to see how it works, because then you can start seeing where you can start letting go and releasing.
Yeah. So yesterday I was in a class, and right at the very beginning, the woman who was leading the class asked for feedback on class that was on Saturday. I was so eager. It was such a powerful class for me that I raised my hand and she called on me right away. And I shared what I shared. And then she said, okay, thank you, Penny, and went on to the next person. So what did I do last night when I was laying in bed? And even at that time too, I started making meaning of that. I started going, I guess that wasn't the right thing to say. It wasn't evolved enough. I must not be hitting the mark. I'm not a good enough coach. All this negative shit started coming in. And so when I laid down in bed and was still, it all came back again. And I kept saying, Penny, that's not true. It's not true. And the next person that talked, she did the same thing. And then the next person that talked, she was like all over everything she said. And so, it's so interesting how my mind wants to make up meaning on everything. Like you said, thoughts are neutral. Oh my gosh, my thoughts are not neutral.
Well, your thinking's not neutral.
Okay,
my
thinking
is neutral.
Yeah.
Like maybe your thought was just, I really like how you taught this class, period.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't get the reaction you wanted. So then the thinking starts, like, the obsessive
The
judgment.
rumination. Yeah, the
Yeah.
rumination. I start ruminating on it like a cow chewing her cud.
Don't ever liken yourself to a cow.
No. That's hilarious.
That's an interesting distinction, Melissa. Like the original thought is neutral. Like I haven't thought about it like that before. So her original thought was her feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just interesting to think about. I don't have any examples right now because I haven't thought about thinking like that.
In the book, there's another example that's like, what have you always wanted to do in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, write a book. And the next question would come up, and why haven't you done it yet?
Mm-hmm.
And so then that's the launching pad to, I can't do time management. How am I going to write a book? No one will want to hear my book.
I'm lazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've all had that.
Mm-hmm.
Will you say those two questions again? I just wanted to make a note of them.
Which questions? You're asking me?
What's the thing that you want to do and why?
What is the thing you want to do? And then why haven't you done it? Right. It could be, I just haven't had the time.
Mm-hmm.
Done. And another thing he talks about in the book is the neutral thought is usually, like you can think of it as a noun. And then the thinking is a verb. I'm doing this. I should do this. I haven't done this. All the doings. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to give different examples to make it clear. But I think what in the book, he gives us kind of a step-by-step how you can start shifting this for yourself. And what I love is we're all doing it. We are like stopping ourselves. We're connecting to a higher power. He doesn't necessarily say that, but it's not about pushing away your thoughts or your feelings. It's still feeling them, but starting to realize that when you have feelings that feel like suffering, that you're in control of those and that you can make other choices. And just like lengthening the time that you have between those the thinking parts. So it happens less and less and less and less. And you're having more and more moments of peace between the thoughts.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I had a situation that happened this week, and it was exactly that. Great introduction, by the way, Melissa. So I had a situation where on Friday, I had a gentleman to ask me to see if I could wholesale his property, right? And so it's like a $500,000 property, and he wanted, he didn't want to list it. So he just wanted to put it out there to investors. And so I do have a list of investors that I work with. So I sent it out to them, and a couple of them were interested. And one in particular said that he was really interested. He was going to go out on Saturday and take a look at it. And then he said that, he wouldn't be able to do anything on Sunday, but he'd get back to me on Monday. And he kept texting me all weekend, but he wasn't ready to put an offer on the property. So then he texted me early Monday morning and said, I'm going to be sending you an offer later today. And then so I let the seller know that we were going to be sending an offer. And then he said, I already have an offer and I have the earnest money deposit already. And my mind immediately went to, oh my God, that's $15,000, because this guy was slow. I started having all of these thoughts and all this physical response in my body. And then I immediately said, okay, Drusilla, what are you doing? And so I had to neutralize all of those thoughts, still feel it in my body, but relax into it and know that everything that's supposed to happen was happening just as it was supposed to. It took There is a saying that it takes only 90 seconds if you just, lean into it and let it. And I will say, literally within a couple of minutes, I was putting away my groceries and I didn't think anything else about it. But I totally went into the thinking and making it this totally big thing that could have just like ruined my week or, at least my day or 2 or 3 days. Cause I was thinking about that $15,000, just because the guy was a little slow with his approach. Right.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was totally in it for the minute, for the moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I have an example that we talked about earlier when we were doing our Course in Miracles lessons. I think it's helpful for the audience to hear different examples of how it shows up because it's pretty chronic, honestly. Yeah. For me, I feel like the original thought was, I feel lazy, I feel unmotivated, I feel unclear about what to do. And then the thinking, the ego layers that chime in are that there's something wrong with that instead of just that's what is. There's nothing wrong if there's a cloud in the sky and it's not sunny out. But the ego is very quick to think that feeling the way that I just described is somehow bad. And then all these other meanings come rushing in. I'm a failure. I'm a spiritual failure. I'm disconnected from spirit. And all the other, like the ruminating, like Penny was talking about, instead of just accepting and allowing myself to feel lazy and unmotivated and unclear.
And what would be the cost of believing all that for you, Morgan?
Of believing the extra layer, the ego like thoughts that got layered on top. The cost is that it just makes me feel really awful.
Yeah.
Well, it takes us out of the game, right? I mean, it takes us out. It's attempting to take us out anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a form of self-sabotage and yeah.
So what do y'all think is like the cue other than the pinpointing the neutral thought?
Yeah.
Like what is that when our thoughts start lying to us? Is it a bad feeling? Is it a good feeling? Do you have to attach some feeling words to it to identify when we're lying to ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
I feel kind of sick to my stomach because I go on like a bullet train. Like there's just no stopping. It goes from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Of like, see, it doesn't work. I've had the same thing Morgan's had. See, you're lazy. See, you shouldn't be lazy. Everything's given to you. You should, you're very privileged. You should, whatever. You should do that. Shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually just a bullet train of self-judgment, which kind of makes me sick to my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's an identifier for you, Melissa. So that feeling like you're lying to yourself, that sickness, the feeling like in your stomach.
And a bullet train, I said, because I also feel like it's out of control.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, how do I reel this in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and the, our emotions are our guidance system.
Yes.
So like feeling lazy and unmotivated in and of itself is not a bad feeling. Like, we've all had an enjoyable lazy day where we didn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not the feeling lazy and unmotivated. It's the emotional indicators kick in to let me know when I've gone into that ruminating thinking territory. Like when I start feeling bad about myself and thinking that I'm doing something wrong, that's the alarm clock letting me know that I've gone out of neutrality and into judgment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was kind of like the question that Melissa asked. earlier on before we started recording was, are you upset? You're not upset for the reason that you think you are. And that's what I realized. I was really not upset at the experience. I was upset at the meaning I made of the experience, which was that I was incapable of doing a job well, that I'm worthless.
Wow. Yeah.
So it still always goes back to the beliefs we hold about ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the old beliefs that happened when we were very young. And yeah. I wanted to share a book when you, to go back to what you were saying, Drusilla, that 90 seconds and the emotion usually passes or the thought passes. I've been introduced to, not personally introduced, well, on Zoom, to a woman named Joan Rosenberg. And she wrote a book called 90 Seconds to a Life You Love, How to Master Your Difficult Feelings to Cultivate Lasting Confidence, Resilience, and Authenticity. And I haven't read the full book. It's a really great book though, because a lot of people don't realize it's only about 90 seconds that the original thought would last if we would just let it be that, right? It's when we start making meaning of everything is when it starts going on the bullet train and we might even go off the rails. Yeah. So yeah, I just find that to be a really good book because it's,
I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
So that does sound like a good step, right? So like we've identified when our thoughts start lying to us, and then the tool would be how to detach from that is just to allow it to be for 90 seconds. Yes. Is that what we're saying here? Yeah.
Yeah. No fixing, no changing, allowing, letting it go when it naturally just diffuses itself. But I think Morgan made a really good point. Just when you're on the bullet train, I wouldn't even see that I'm on the bullet train. I would just be gone. But paying attention to those feelings that you have that start coming up, like paying attention to the sick stomach, like, God, this just doesn't feel good. As a kind of a U-turn.
Yeah, to stop hurting ourselves, right? I've hurt myself enough. It's time to stop hurting myself. You know, Melissa, when you started talking about this book, you also said that you were listening to Michael Singer's podcast. He is the author of many books, but the one that we love collectively here is The Surrender Experiment. And I decided last week, I was having a really tough day. And I decided last week to go and start listening to his podcast. And so I thought he's like on 137 or whatever. But I went back to number 1. And wouldn't you know, the very first podcast, I'm going to read it. It's from June 30th, 2021, Ceasing to be Caught in the Waters of the Mind. And this is what the little caption is about it. The natural state of the mind is like calm, still water, teaches Michael Singer. The practice of spiritual surrender to relax and release our resistance to whatever arises in our experience is the pathway to enjoying serenity of mind, no matter what the universe throws your way. In this podcast, Michael Singer uses the analogy of an aquatic bird maintaining its balance on rough waters. Anyway, it's a powerful podcast. It like brought home everything you were talking about, how we're, yeah. So our natural state of our mind is to be calm and relaxed. But these thoughts that we think have meaning come in and create such havoc in our mind. It's like, so it's a great podcast.
It is an amazing podcast. And what he's talking about now, like in the last couple months, he's talking about you can handle it. You can handle reality. Whatever is going to come, you can handle it. Just don't get off on the bullet train because then it becomes so huge. So whatever's coming, you'll be able to handle it. So you can let go of all that future stuff, past stuff.
I like that. Like, what is it that makes it become bigger when we stay on the bullet train?
Well, it's the law of attraction because like attracts like. So you have that one first judgy negative thought that feels icky, and then it just attracts another one like it, and then another one, and then they get gradually worse and they come faster and they just keep piling on and piling on until we break the cycle.
Yeah, it's a contagion. It's called the saboteur contagion. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a pile of monkeys. They just pile on top of each other.
Yeah.
It's so funny. My brain won't get off of how am I going to sit there and do this for 90 seconds? Like I haven't moved past this. What are we going to do for 90 seconds?
Well, you've been thinking that thought for 90 seconds.
She's actually doing it right now. I'm demonstrating.
Yeah, so you can do it.
Should we take a 90-second breather?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
wait, see, here's the thing. So what am I going to do for these 90 seconds, right? Like
you gotta, okay. Well, somebody describes it as like just watching it float through your mind. Just don't attach to it. Let the thought float through without having the attachment to it. I think a good way to describe it also is because you understanding the connectivity that you have to it. Like Michael Singer also explains in The Untethered Soul about the example of the car. Mm-hmm. Like if you had a person that broke up with you and they drove a Volkswagen, an orange Volkswagen. So every time you would see an orange Volkswagen, you would feel it in your body. You would get upset, right? So the deal is to watch the Volkswagen and watch your feelings happen and not try to control them, like Melissa said. Not try to do anything about it. So that's how, if you can do that for 90 seconds, then it dissipates and it doesn't come back. That's the catch, that the next time you shouldn't experience it at all because you detach the attachment to it. You've broken the attachment to it. Mm-hmm. It may take a couple of times, but you get the gist of it.
And you can also, attachment. Yeah. And you can also say, that's great, Drusilla. I love that. I'm going to build on that a little bit too. You can also just say to yourself, oh, I'm thinking about the orange Volkswagen. Oh, I'm thinking about whatever it is, that whatever thought it is, you can just acknowledge that you're thinking that thought. Mm-hmm. So just say it to yourself. Oh, I'm thinking about the sun coming up. Oh, now I'm thinking about how stupid this is.
I like that. Like shifting your awareness into like witness observer role instead of the one who identifies with the thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what are we doing? Are we setting our timer for 30 seconds? I mean, for 90 seconds? Like, I really suck on the logistics.
You're going to have to buy the book. And figure
out. And then we'll do another podcast and we'll invite Dr. Joan to come be with us.
He's not the 90-second guy, though, right? No. Okay.
This book, Don't Believe Everything You Think, he has a method in there for pausing. He calls it pause. So it is, essentially you kind of stop yourself and you are an observer, and you also tell yourself it's my thoughts that cause my suffering, and I don't have to do that anymore. So you're making a stop point.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like the David Hawkins letting go technique, and it really all comes back to what we say just about every episode, which is awareness is curative. So as soon as you're aware that you're on the bullet train, as Melissa is calling it, and you're having those upsetting, painful thoughts instead of the original neutral thought, once you become aware is when you can begin to shift. If you're not aware, then the thoughts are just going to keep magnetizing and ballooning. And but as soon as you can insert some awareness, then you can begin to shift your focus into that observer witness state, like Penny described, and move into allowing the emotions to run through you, like the 90-second practice. And but it all begins with that single point of awareness.
What I love about what you just said, Morgan, is that what do we have? Isn't it like 70,000 or something like that thoughts a day? I mean, it's like some incorrect million. Okay, millions. Yeah. Okay, I was being generous. But and
98.2% of statistics are made up on the spot.
So there I am making up shit again.
And Morgan just made one up to support you.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump on?
Yeah.
Anyway, we have lots and lots and lots and lots of thoughts that we're not even aware of. So I love that you said that, Morgan. It's when we start to become aware that we're having all these thoughts, then it can be humbling when you start to realize how much you're thinking that you're not even aware that you're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, only when we had this conversation did I become aware that having the thought of feeling lazy and unmotivated is a neutral thought. I still was sitting there thinking that it was a bad thing.
It's that meaning. Yeah. We attach meaning to everything.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about how you get through the 90 seconds. I don't know what the book says, which I will buy, but you could count 90 seconds. You could literally say 1, 2. When you're doing that, you're distracting yourself from the thought or all the thinking. And that's enough of a breather to get, like Drusilla said, let those thoughts pass through.
Yeah. It's like a presence practice, bringing yourself back.
Yeah.
And in the book, he also talks about really like calling it out. Is that true? Just like Byron Katie. So you could even launch into something like that. Is that true? No.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes the thoughts that we have practiced over and over and over again, like throughout our life or many lifetimes, are very effing persistent. Because there are several thoughts that I am quite aware of, and I'm very practiced at recognizing them and discarding them, and then they just come right back again. They come rushing right back in again. Any practices or tips for like what we do with those kinds that are super persistent, even when we are aware of them and we're not interested in them anymore, but they still keep showing their ugly head?
Awareness. Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them may, depending on where it stems from. I think a lot of it, from childhood, and you may have to dig deeper into, where it stems from, and do the work as it relates to that. Unfortunately,
or fortunately,
yeah, fortunately in the end. But a lot of people, when you say that work from your childhood trauma, it gets a little gritty for people sometimes. But yeah, if it's that persistent, I mean, you can always hand it over to the Holy Spirit and ask for guidance.
Drusilla, that's a good point, because I was thinking about Jennifer Hadley's, I think it's Masterful Living. In the first year, she teaches that surrender and a prayer, like surrendering it in prayer. So whatever it is coming up for healing, some trauma, childhood trauma, like when it was coming up for me, I would say, she teaches to, I want to heal this back to the root cause. Throughout, like my prayers, I'm going to heal this back to the root cause throughout all dimensions of time and space, throughout all realities. So I never have to think about it again. I have said that a lot, especially in that year, in year 1, Masterful Living goes through the process of really digging into all your stuff and bringing it up for healing. And I would assume that when Penny talks about going through childhood wounds and all that stuff, like in the beginning, you are excavating a bunch of stuff that needs to be healed.
And that it's great that you bring that up, because what this is triggering me is some recent work. Catherine Woodward Thomas is coming out with a new book, What's True About You, January 27th. It'll be released, and you can order your copy on Amazon. Anyway,
not sponsored by any publishing house.
Yeah.
Unless you are.
Anyway,
we're open to it. Sorry. Go
anyway, a good question to ask yourself is it true or is it trauma when you have some of these thoughts? Because it might just be the trauma. And then that's like what you said, Drusilla, you go back and you work on that. But is it true? It probably isn't true. It's just something that happened that now you need to heal. So I love that when she talks about that in her new book, What's True About You.
I'm going to throw this little dinger out there. Michael Singer recently would say, it doesn't matter what happened to you.
Yeah.
That was also a thought or a piece of reality that you attached all this thinking to. So even if you were a little teeny kid and something happened, it happened, but your mind was the one that made the thinking, the story about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really about staying in the present and realizing all the past are stories that you have attached meanings to, as we do. This is hard to think about because I've done a lifetime of healing, of digging, is it truth or trauma? And so it's hard to see it this way, but this is what he's saying. Like, if you're staying in the very present, then all that stuff was just instances of reality happening. You're the one who clung to a story about it.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, and that does support the notion that the Course teaches us, which is that it doesn't take time to heal. It doesn't. I mean, we can choose to do the healing by revisiting our past and trying to understand it, but it doesn't require that for healing. You're absolutely right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Amanda, are you still counting?
She has that look on her face. She just
letting all the feelings go, right? That is hilarious. I think for me, like, this pause is the prayer. Right? Like what I was thinking about it was that it's nice to have a tool, right? Yeah. Because we are habitual thinkers. Yeah. And to stop that trauma, is it true or is it trauma? For me, it's the practice of the surrendering it to something else that I don't have to deal with, surrendering it to God. So God's got this healing. God's got this. Like, so that's my tool is the partnering up helps take the pressure off. That's, for me, that's what helps to relieve that in that 90 seconds. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And as my sponsor always said to me from Al-Anon, that when I am suffering, it's because I've lost my connection to my source energy, my higher power, God, whatever you want to call it. That's when. So I love, Amanda, that you're partnering up with that source energy to get you back on the tracks. Yeah.
And I am going to start counting to 90 because I just love that. Yeah. Why not? Right? Why not try something else?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, kind of to close, I want to say too that this book, I think, really talks to me because it, to me, is the essence of acceptance. So it is literally like accepting reality for what it is and not making the stories that we make around the blips of time that are reality. And one line out of this book is, life is not suffering. It's how you think about what happened to you, which is causing the suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I just had the thought that going back, let's just use Drusilla's example of the real estate transaction falling through. And let's just say it was a poverty level family that happened to, who had lost their government benefits and weren't sure how they were going to pay their power bill and buy their groceries, and all the thoughts that come in to tell them something's gone wrong. There is this human nature that we think we have to figure things out, and that it's irresponsible to not do this thinking.
Yeah.
That it's what we have to do.
Yeah.
This happened. This is the meaning that I'm not going to be able to feed my family. And now I've got to figure it out. I've got to be thinking.
Yes.
And
good point.
Yeah. And it's really, really hard to train our minds and to have the faith that we don't have to figure things out, and we actually can't figure things out. And the best solution is to come back to the present moment so that we can access divine clarity. But we're just not trained. I mean, God, what a beautiful world. We were trained to do that from a young age, you know?
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
I really was thinking, I knew what Melissa was saying, like it's simple, but the way you described it makes it complex because of our nature. And I think you explained it so eloquently, Morgan. Yes. Yeah. Because if I explain that situation to my husband, his mode would have been exactly what you said, Morgan. Yes, but we need the money. We need to do this. And that's, whereas I would have, and that's why I didn't explain that story to him, because he would have helped me stay on the train. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something to really kind of think about for our listeners. Is the goal, I think, is to practice, especially with the little things. And then when the big things happen, it happened for me because I had so much practice over the last 10 years. And more than likely it was with a lot of smaller things first, like seeing a little something that upset me, right? Like the car driving down the street or something, versus something bigger, that would have, like death in my family, for example. Some people have a very difficult time dealing with death. And I feel like I've been able to use a lot of the tools that we've talked about today to minimize the impact that grief would have on me as I walk through life every day. But it took a long time for me to get there. So I think what you said, Melissa, it is simple, but it does take practice. It does take practice.
Yeah. And I was thinking also, like, for going back to like the example of financial scarcity and lack, we're so practiced at looking for the evidence that we're not supported. And so it really does take practice to look for the examples of abundance and God's providence in our lives. Like that's another practice. Like look for the helpers, you know what I mean? Like look for the evidence that things always work out for me. Look for the evidence that the universe has my back. Look for the evidence that this fear spiral I'm going down to is not true, because our tendency as humans is to look to the contrary evidence that everything sucks and everything's going to shit. Right.
Wow. Powerful session, recording, podcast, whatever you want to call this. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you, Melissa, for bringing this topic forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a few Post-its unless anybody has anything else they'd like to share. Well, the whole thing is that, wow, these are really sticky. Don't believe everything you think. Do you like my little brain there?
Yeah. I was wondering what that was.
That was a head. Well, it could be a light bulb. It can be whatever you think.
Because it is.
Yeah. And original thoughts are neutral. Those are the kind of the key things. And then it's what happens is it's that meaning we make of those thoughts that starts the suffering. And then I love when you said you can handle it. You can handle it. It's just like we make so much meaning that we can't. And then practice. Yeah. Life is one big practice. And if we can just look at it that way, I think things can be easier. So let's close with the thought that you are not your thoughts. Oh, not a thought. Let's close with the reminder. Every time I say think or thought, I'm going to like, oh my God, is this an original one? Or so you are not your thoughts. Now we are the awareness behind them. And it's that that's what love notices, is the awareness behind them. And it's also the stillness that holds them. And so when thoughts swirl like a storm or like a bullet train or whatever is going on around you, you don't need to fight them. Just open the window of your heart and let them pass. Just let that 90 seconds pass. Just say, oh, that's a thought. And that's a little practice, the small practice you can use this week when your mind spins the story. Just pause, breathe, and gently say, that's just a thought. And feel the freedom in that. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing this time with us at Five Lemons Laughing. If today's conversation touched you, or if you wanted to give us some options, reach out to us and pass it on, pass this podcast on. That's the way that we can continue to do what we do. So until next time, remember, your transformation is our greatest joy. So we look forward to connecting again soon. You all have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.